Good afternoon. Welcome to our social media group, Grow Your Science and Maths Like a Superhero, and YouTube from myself and Asger. So today's talk is going to be about structures of the lymphatic system, also called the immune system. And in 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to cover everything that you need to know about it. So how does the immune system do what it do? Well, it's all about these cells, the white blood cells, which are also called lymphocytes. And broadly speaking, all of these different cells move throughout the lymphatic system in these. So lymph fluid, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and lymph glands. The structure of the lymphatic system, lymph is a bit like plasma. It's a straw-colored fluid that leaves the capillary and goes into tissue spaces. So the capillary are the very small vessels that transport cells throughout the body. And lymph is very similar to it, also called interstitial fluid, and it carries the nutrients, that is the proteins, oxygen, and hormones to the cells, and then carries waste back to the capillaries. And we can see here the white arrow represents the fluid that becomes lymph. So going into the lymph vessels and then around. Structure of the lymphatic system. So we mentioned before, lymph vessels transport this excess lymph fluid back to the circulatory system. They are located in nearly all tissues and organs. So if we're thinking about biology, biology is the order of systems, organs, tissues, and cells. And we're going to go more into the cells in another talk. So important to remember, the lymph system doesn't have a pump, and it relies on muscle contractions to move lymph throughout the vessels. And it also has valves similar to the heart that stop backward flow. So these lymph vessels run parallel to blood vessels. So we can see here artery, the vein, and then the lymph vessel here. And this lymph vessel is where lymph fluid travels throughout. So lymph vessels, these include lacteals. These are specialized lymph vessels in the small intestines that absorb digested fat. And it's important to remember these vessels join together to form larger lymph vessels called lymphatics, and these lymphatics include the thoracic duct, both left and right thoracic duct, which feed into the right subclavian and the left subclavian veins. So what does a lymph node look like? So a lymph node contains lymph fluid, right? So this is what a typical lymph node looks like. So you can see the vessel, the capsule surrounding it, and all the different cells in the middle. And these are called germinal centers. And these are very important because they generate B cells that secrete antibodies. And this is the site of lymphocyte formations and specialization. Now, these get inflamed when we encounter foreign antigens, and typically in vaccination, that's what happens. So to move on a little bit to lymph nodes, where are they located? So lymph nodes you can generally feel around your neck. These are called cervical. Got mediastinal, para-aortic, and so on. We don't have to remember all of their names, but it's important to know that that's where cells aggregate from the lymph system. By aggregate, I mean gather. Also in the tonsils, tonsils have masses of lymphatic tissue that produce lymphocytes and filter bacteria. So the 3 types of in the tonsils: palatine, adenoids, and lingual. The spleen. So the spleen is another type of lymphatic tissue. It's the largest lymph structure, and it forms lymphocytes and monocytes. Filters the blood, stores red blood cells, and destroys or removes old or fragile red blood cells. Now, remember, red blood cells are called erythrocytes. White blood cells are called lymphocytes. Now, we've also got the thymus gland. This is located at the top of the body, and this produces T cells or T lymphocytes. This is an endocrine gland because it secretes particular types of hormones. And we're going to go a little bit into what those hormones are at a later date. So this is a very good display of what's in the lymphatic system. So we've got the thymus up here, lymph nodes, spleen, more lymph nodes, lymphatic ducts, and also the bone marrow. Now, we haven't touched too much on the bone marrow, but bone marrow makes lymphocytes as well. Thank you very much. That was a 3-minute talk, and we'll be covering one of the other systems in my next one.